she makes presentation.
Now we are going straight to clause 64 of this bill,
And on my left, I have
which provides that the minister may, after expiry of the initial term of
for the sign language. If you can't hear, you just look at them, they will show you or they will explain to you what is happening. There we have those that are interpreting. When we make or I talk and you listen to that, you can see they are coming in and they are explaining to you. When that is done, I am going to give you an opportunity to make inputs. Because the intention of the National Parliament ke hore setjhaba se ane ka maikutlo a sona se be se etse ntho e re bitsang ka hore the inputs ba phehise moo ba phehisang teng. So that's the opportunity that will come. And then when we conclude that, I will hand over Home Monteng to chair the two last bills that we will be presenting. So I'm going to request, with me here, I have members of the committee, perhaps some will come, that they will be here and listen to what you are saying. But you can see, we've got a video there that looks at, there is no one that is wrong when you talk. You talk your views, you make inputs, and we are capturing there on a video to say this is what so-and-so has said regarding the bill itself. So a person that is going to do
Can we continue? Okay, let's continue. From clause 64 of the bill, which provides that the minister may, after expiry of the initial term of the production phase, having regard to the need for the state to derive a fair share of benefits from the production of its petroleum resources, amend an existing term and condition of the petroleum right, or insert a new term and condition of the petroleum right. This means that if you have been granted with a right, it's not guaranteed that you automatically going to renew your right. The minister may amend or insert new terms and conditions for your right. So clause 68 of the bill makes a provisions that the Petroleum Agency may direct that upstream petroleum resource facilities which are owned by a petroleum holder be used by third parties if warranted by considerations of efficient operation and resource management. The decision to direct may be made after consultation with affected petroleum right holder. Clause 77 of this bill provides that a holder of a petroleum right must notify the Petroleum Agency of any petroleum accumulation which extends beyond the boundaries of its area. It further states that To ensure optimum recovery of the petroleum operations must be carried out on the basis of a unitized development where a petroleum accumulation extends beyond the boundaries of the petroleum right area and at least one holder has made a declaration of commercial discovery. Clause 78 of the bill provides that the state may, where an accumulation of a petroleum extends onto the land or continental shelf of another country, for example, Namibia, Mozambique, or Zimbabwe, seek to reach an agreement with that other country on the most efficient coordination of petroleum activities in connection with accumulation of petroleum as well as the apportionment of accumulation of petroleum. Clause 79 of the bill makes provision for the submission of information and data by the holder of a reconnaissance permit or petroleum right who conducts reconnaissance, exploration, production, operations to petroleum agency. The information or data may include geological, geophysical, technical, financial and economic reports, studies, analysis, progress reports, and interpretations. Clause 84 of this bill provides for the issuing of a closure certificate. The holder of an exploration, production, or petroleum right remains responsible for any environmental liability, pollution, ecological degradation, the pumping and treatment of extraneous water, compliance with the conditions of the environmental authorizations, and the management of and sustainable closure thereof, until the minister has issued a closure certificate to the holder in terms of this act. Clause 87 of this bill provides for financial guarantee for petroleum operations. A holder of a right granted in terms of this act must, before notarial execution of the right, provide for a financial guarantee to be determined by the petroleum agency within 60 days from the date of the request. The financial guarantee must guarantee the availability of sufficient funds for the due fulfillment of exploration and production activities in respect of the applicable term. Clause 88 of this bill provides for the exceptions under which the minister may suspend, cancel the permit or a right, meaning that if you are not compliant with your granted right, petroleum right, the minister may suspend or cancel it. Clause 89 of this bill provides for the restrictions or prohibitions of exploration and production on certain land or block. Clause 90 provides for the optimal production for petroleum resources and further provides that the petroleum agency may direct the holder of a petroleum right to take corrective measures of petroleum if petroleum is not being produced optimally in accordance with the production work program. Clause 92 of this bill provides for ministers' powers to expropriate property for the purposes of exploration or production, if necessary for the achievement of the objects of this act. The expropriation will be done in accordance with Section 25(2) and 3 of the Constitution. It further provides for the payment of compensation where that expropriation has been done. Clause 93 of the bill provides for the exceptions under which a right or a permit may lapse. The bill consists of Schedule 1, which is a comprehensive transitional arrangement to affirm security of tenure of existing permits or rights by giving them an opportunity to transition to this act. Pending applications, exploration rights, permission to remove and dispose, reconnaissance permit, and production rights. Existing rights, exploration rights, permission to remove and dispose, reconnaissance permit, and production rights and technical cooperation permit. Terms and conditions here are under BEE, Social and Labor Plan, and the work program. Chairperson and honorable members, passing of this bill into law is a critical step for the development of, and growth of this sector.
Okay. Jwale re fihlile mola nakong ya hore he re nke diphehiso, di-inputs tse tswang ho lona le setjhaba. So ke qala ka mona jwalo ka ntate Mashinini ana etsa. Ke hloka ho bona matsoho a batho ba batlang ho tlo bua. Ba bua ka se ka molao se. Ha o fihla mo wa bolela hore lebitso la hao o mang, whether o supporta se ka molao se, ha o se supporte, taba tsa hao tseo batlang hore di kenelle molaong o ke tsena ke tsena ke tsena. Kapa clause e bang o nahana hore e tloswe moo ba e sa o tshwareng hantle ke ena ke ena ke ena. Tshwantse le bue he ke nako ke ena re tlile ho lona jwale re tlo nka maikutlo a lona le setjhaba. Ke kopa le phahamise matsoho. Ke kopa le phahamise matsoho ha ebe le batla ho bua. Le utlwile hantle ne le mametse akere. All right. Ha le bue le kgotsofetse. E re ke tla ka nqeng mona ke a tseba ke tla thola batho ba bua. Ke kopa matsoho a phahame for people ba batlang ho bua. O bua ka language that suits you. Afrikaans, Sesotho, Sezulu, Xhosa, whatever. E language e nngwe le nngwe e o feelang hore I'm comfortable ka ena. Tlo ntate. E mong hape a batlang ho bua? Ha ona e mong a batlang ho bua? Phamisa letsoho. Oh, sontso fit. Good. Dula moo. Okay. Ke bo ntate ba babedi ba fela ba tlo buella setjhaba se sengata kana se se ka mo. Thank you. Bua ntate.
Goedemiddag, goedemiddag. Mijn naam is Kumo Mugwetsi, Koffiefontein, Ward 4. First of all, die bill gaan ik adopten, ik gaan die bill thumbs up geven. Enigste input wat ik Kumo Mugwetsi wil maken op die bill, is eintlik ja input die is a clarity seeking question. On the inclusion of black people, what procedure and what ways are there for us to establish our own petroleum stations locally? That's my clarity seeking questions on the inclusion of blacks. What procedures and what steps are there to be taken for us blacks to also be in that chain of the petroleum business? But the bill, I give it a thumbs up.
Thank you ntate.
Na ke khotso mran tate Koloi ke fitlhile hape ke a leboha mono le nna ke ema le ntate pento ya hore rona batho ba batsho ha rena station sa petrol re buswa ke makgowa fela so ne ke kopa hore ntate mono re fumane e leng thuto ya hore le rona batho ba batsho re finyele ho ba le business e tshwanang le ya petrol yona point eno ke a leboha ba edenge
Ga leboha. Ho sana le e mong hape motho a batlang ho bua? Ke khutlela ho lona. Ho sana le motho e mong hape a batlang ho bua? Tla ya mme. Ka ntle teng ha ona motho e mong. All right. Bua he mme.
My name is Cecilia Moeketsi. I'm coming from Jacobsdal. It's so My name is Cecilia Moiketsi, coming from Jacobsdal. What I want to ask is there any funding, or if you have already a place that you can point that I want to build my station here, is there maybe funding or something that the government can help you to start with? And maybe contact details or the process which you must follow so that you can.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Okay. Ha ke bone matsoho. So ke tlo fa mme a arabe dipotsonyana tse fokolang tsena tse qetang ho botswa. And then re tla be re sheba hore ke ba bakae ba support-ang, ke ba bakae.
Just before Refamme, Tatana Kata Wuta Mona Una le Sogolosa or Rea Dumela Rabata Ukena Sebaken Sena. Meme Udi Salusite Horna Ukena Joa Maraktabata I pit the habe. Reko Sabed. How say it's the peso? Who bua ka horna se chaba se sutus tlabele se kenemo. O bo sa dietse di peso tse. Ba bang ba tla etsa di peso go ho utlwala lentswe la bona fela. Me araba dipotso tseo.
Ka leboga. Bontate bele ba mathomo e ka re ne ba bua ka how to enter into this business. Ke nahana ba bolela ka the selling of petrol or having the wholesale license, having a station or a garage. Ke kopa ho tlhalosa hore this bill ha e bue ka wholesaling ya petrol and having petrol stations and so forth. This one re bolela ka the application for licenses for drilling oil and gas. And then there is a dedicated legislation for the wholesaling and the petrol and the so forth, which is the Petroleum Product Act. So for more information on that one, because it's not under our section, you can request from the department. You can get our emails and then you can forward whatever, then we can forward to the relevant people. But this one is on the drilling of oil and gas, the licenses, not the selling. And if there is any funding, currently we don't have any funding for these projects.
Reke hatelle hape dintlheng tsena ka nako e nngwe ho na le ntho e re bitsang ka hore ke exploration. Na le ntho e re bitsang ka hore ke exploration. Exploration ke ha o batla ho tseba hore mona petrol kapa gas ba tsebang ba balang ba tseba hore ho na le gas e ileng ya fumaneha mane Virginia akere jwale ha ho etsuwa dintho tsa mofuta ono seo se ka molao sena se se bolelang se re ho kenyeletswe batho ba habo rona, ho kenyeletswe batho ba habo rona. Jwale e tle re he le wena ha o batla hore o be part ya batho ba etsang exploration kapa ba batlang ho fumana that gas, ke yona ena mme e bolelang a re ke licensing ke yone re etsang ka mantswe a mang e o bulela monyako hore ha o batla ho kena mono o tlo o etse jwang kaofela ha tsona ntho tsena. E ska re ka moso o bo utlwa ho thuwa fela ho fumanwe gas mona, gas mona. Jwale ha o re wa hla o bo bona ho itlhaela batho ka kwana. Nna ntho e ke utlwileng modulasetulo ke a hore bontate le ha ba ne ba sa e behe ba phatlaladitse ba re ha o so ho etsuwa mono ho shejuwe batho ba bo rona. A ke re le tjho jwalo? A ke re jwale ha o sa etse jwalo mo re fitlang re tshware a matsoho teng ke ha ile hore ha re bue re a thola ke mpa ke batla ho toboketsa fela hore mang wa rata kapa ha rate, but bili ena e batla ho kenyeletsa motho e motsho ha ho etsuwa business ya gas. Ra utlwana hore na ke re le exploration ke se goa ntwene goa sena man ke hae ba ile hore o etsa diphuputso hore na mona hona le gase kapa hona gase na mme o tlameile o fumane license. Jwale ya o bolella hore license o tla etsa ka tsela ena le ena le ena. Mme o itse ke batla o etse ke batla o ko hlalose taba ya licensing ha ke batla ho kena businessing ya exploration le gase ena o ko e hlalose le nkutlwa hore na ke re a leke ho ibula hanyane hore a le bontshe hore taba ke ena me leng teng hobane jwalo ka re le mo kaofela ha re tsebe modulasetulo hore na gase teng mona kapa eo a ke re jwale batho ba seng ba fumane hore e teng mona lona le setjhaba le tsebe ho tseba ditokelo tsa hore hey hore ke kene moo ke tlo kena jwang. Mme montsheng ka tumello ya hao ke batla mme a re tla hanyane fela mme ako toboketse fela hanyane ke le ka o thusa ke
ka leboga. Ke tlo tlhalosa the application for reconnaissance permit, which is on page 19 of the bill. Before ke bua ka how to apply, let me say this sector or this industry for the drilling of oil and gas is capital intensive, iya tura. So that is why Rekalusa Mole on section 31 and other sections that at least a minimum of 10% of black people can enter into partnerships with these multinational companies, because we know we don't have those billions, but at least if you can partner with those investors, we can do something. So under page 19 of this act, under section 38, he tlhalosa gore application for reconnaissance permit. Reconnaissance ke lisa usa batla like research whether there is oil and gas, which is valid for 2 years, for a period of not exceeding 2 years. So to have this license granted to you, you must have a prescribed non-refundable application fee, which is not stated here to say how much. Because this is a bill, we're still going to have regulations after this bill has been passed into an act. So the regulations will expand more on the provisions of the act. So under this permit, the Petroleum Agency, which is PASA, based in Cape Town, this agency is the one that administers the licensing and then recommend to the minister whether to grant or not grant the license or permit. So the Petroleum Agency will or must, within 14 days of the receipt of the application, if you have applied, accept that application, then they will notify you that they have accepted your application. So under the granting and the duration of the reconnaissance permit, we are saying the minister must grant the permit if the applicant has access to financial resources. You must have money, you must have financial guarantee. And you must have technical ability to conduct the proposed operations. Technical ability. We can't just take someone maybe who did LLB and then this person is going to drill, is going to search for oil and gas. I mean, for this industry, obviously it should be the engineering and those qualifications. So we also say that the minister may refuse to grant a reconnaissance permit if you do not meet the requirements that are under Section 39 for granting. So Clause 39 further provides for the period under which the reconnaissance permit may be granted, which is a period not exceeding 2 years, whether it's renewable or not renewable, whether it's transferable or not transferable. I think I'm done.
Kinana mme o hlalositse tsene di hloka ho hlaloswa. So ha ile go a ke le fuwe this act, this bill, I mean, you can go and read at home. You still have until the 28th of February 2024, next week at 4:30. Hore o ka emaila. These are the email addresses kopa o di ngole. Maikutlo a hao for ntho tse bang ha wa di utlwisisa. Email ya pele ke kgathatso e re KGATHATSO .nkeane NKEANE 77@gmail.com. Ke tlo ipheta hape email ya pele ke kgathatso.nkeane 77@gmail.com. Ya bobedi email address ke zintle M for mother @fsl.gov.za. O ka romela maikutlo a hao kapa diphehiso di emailing tseo pele ho di 28 tsa February 2024 ka 4:30. Tle re tsebe ho kenyeletsa maikutlo a hao. Pele he re ka fetela billing e nngwe e tlo bua ka small businesses. Ke kopa hore le haebe le supporta bill ena hore e tsamaye e lo tswela pele e saenelwe, ke kopa matsoho a phahame a dumelana le seka molao seo. Ke kopa matsoho a phahame. Batho ba supportang this bill to be passed, can you raise up your hands? Ke a leboha. For those that do not support the bill to be passed, can I see the hands? Okay, thank you, Ntate. Ntle le tshenyo ya nako, ke tlo bitsa. Can you tell me, or you'll introduce yourself? Okay, there's a person that is going to make a presentation on the National Small Enterprise Amendment Bill of 2023. O tla le jwetsa lebitso la hae, and then a etse presentation, le yena le mo mamele ka hloko. Hobaneng ke nahana le yona ena bill e bohlokwa haholo for rona, yona haholoholo hobaneng bonnete boholo ba batho re na le di-business ba bang re di registerile kapa ba bang ha di a registerwa. O tlo tseba hore na o ka etsa jwang hore o tlo kgone molao o reng ka di-small business, le hore na thuso e le ka e tholang e reng, ke ho kae mo le tla tlameha le thole thuso teng, le mamele, because e tla thusa le bana ba rona be re reng ha bana mesebetsi. Thank you very much. You can continue. But first you must introduce yourself.
Good day, my name is Elise Kukamoor, and I'm from the Department of Small Business Development. So we're working with the amendment of this National Small Business Amendment Act. We've started the process long back, as far as 2016. First, we went to all the provinces, because we know that when it comes to small businesses, it's important to get the voice of the communities. So we went to the communities and we said, what are the things in the bill that you want us in this act? What are the things that makes it difficult for you to establish your own small businesses and to make it work profitably and to create jobs? So we went to all the provinces. We went to all 9 of the provinces, but that was in 2016. We also then spoke to all because the small businesses belong to representative organizations and like the Black Business Council. Then we also had consultations with them and said to them, in terms of what you as the associations that represent small businesses, what are the things that needs to be amended in the Act? One of the things that came up very clearly was that we need to improve the efficiencies of SEDA and SEFA. We need to provide better services through SEDA and SEFA. The other thing that came up was saying that we as small businesses have challenges because big businesses take us for a ride, and sometimes even small businesses goes into partnership or business with us, as business-to-business arrangement, and they don't pay us, they're not honest. And it's too expensive for us to go to court. So then we need to, and there's a provision in the Constitution that say that every person has the right to be able to go to a court and to have his case listened in front of a court. But we know that the economic reality was that for small businesses, that was not an option. Because every hour that you're not at your business, you lose money. So for you to go and pursue a person that defaulted and not paid you, costs you even more money because now you even can't continue with your business. We then had consultations with all the other bodies already that provide alternative dispute resolutions. So we went through that process as well. Then in 2018, 2019, we again went back to the community and we said, okay, these are the things that we think we should now amend. We've talked to you, we've talked to everybody, and these are the things. The one thing that came out very clearly was saying, and because we followed, and we also done international studies, and we followed what they call a design thinking. We all know the problem that we have with e-toll. Luckily, you're staying far from Gauteng, but we have the problem of e-toll. But the big problem with e-toll, it was never built up from the community. We never consulted the communities. And you can't, and the big thing that they taught us that is, if you want to design something for the community, you can't design it without the community. You must talk to the community, and we call that design thinking. So you go to the community, and we then went back in 2018, 2019, and we said, okay, we must amend how SEFA and SEDA work. How are we going to do that? So that is the processes that we followed. And then in 2020, for the first time, we went out with a bill that was published in the Government Gazette. And, but initially, for some reason, it was said that we must split the bill in two and only deal with the one part, and then it was said no. Minister said no. We must do for small businesses that needs to be done for small businesses. So we've incorporated everything into that bill. So I want to take you through the bill. I am not going to read from the bill for you. I think you have copies of the bill, and if you want, we can go to that. But I think it's important that you understand what is in that bill and how it is going to assist and help you. So there's 5 things that we want to amend in the bill. 5 things. The first is, because when we consulted, the communities were telling us, we're tired because we go to CEDA, and then they said, no, you must go to CIFA. Then they say, no, but you're a cooperative. You must go to the Cooperative Bank Development Agency. So we said, we're going to change that. What we're going to do is we're going to merge that into one entity. So that's the first thing, is we could talk about the merger and bringing those 3 entities into a single entity. So you will be going to one entity and get support. But I will talk to that in detail. The other one is the establishment of an office for the Ombud for small enterprises. So when you have, that is not internal disputes within your business or within your cooperatives, but when they are business-to-business disputes, or if you have a dispute with government not paying you on time, or you have a dispute with another business, it can be a big business, it can be a small business that is not paying you on time, you go to the Ombud. So we want to establish the Ombud for small businesses. The third thing that we want to establish, we also want a provision for the minister to declare certain practices that relates to small enterprises to be unlawful, to be prohibited unfair trading businesses. And that comes when it deals to the contracts. Some of those things that devious business partners sneaks into contracts, so that we take that out of so that they can't do that anymore. So we want that provision. The fourth one that we want to do is we want to amend the definition for a small enterprise. At the moment, we're sitting with a definition that are very broad, very complex. Because what we try to do as a department as well, we go to other departments, like the Department of Labor or Department, then we want to negotiate and we want to say to them, listen, when it comes to small businesses, we want you to take a different approach, because small businesses are unique and they need different approach. But every time they say to us, but your definition is too complex, it's too broad, it confuses us, and it's difficult to determine in what category. Are you now micro? Are you very small? Are you small? Are you medium? It's too complex. You must help us. You must simplify that. Make it easier. Because it even comes to SARS. Because at the moment, SARS say it's too complex. So all they allow for exemptions for is for micro. But we also think that small businesses should be treated a little bit different. So, and medium, because they are not, and because another thing, internationally, where you get growth, jobs, that is very important. I drove into Koffiefontein for the first time in a very long time. And I can see what we need everywhere in this country, even in big towns like Pretoria, is jobs. Your micro enterprises create self-help opportunities. We also need to support our medium enterprises, because they are the ones that create the jobs. So, and we need to be specific in terms of where we target. So there's a need for us to amend that definition to make it work for the sector in South Africa, so that we can create the jobs and we can create the situation to grow the economy. The last thing that we need to amend, that is just a technical amendment, because there's a specific section in the Act, Section 20, subsection 2, that allows the minister to make amendments to amend the thresholds that determine the different size categories. But at the moment, that power is so broad that it can even give the minister the right to amend the definition without consulting and without going through Parliament. So we were advised by Oxlade to say that that is unconstitutional, you need to amend that. So we're complying with that warning that we got from Oxlade to say that that provision is unconstitutional. But luckily, as good government officials, we haven't abused that power, but we're amending that to make sure that it's aligned to the Constitution that it must be. I want to first talk to you about the new merged entity that we're going to establish. So we're going to take CEDA, we're going to take CIFA and the Cooperative Development Agency, and we're going to incorporate them into CEDA. And then we're going to establish CETFA. So CETFA will then provide all that services to you in a single entity. This is, they will provide financial and non-financial support. So they will no longer be able to say to you, we've developed a business plan for you, but now it's not good enough to give you financing. Because it must be aligned, it must be within one. The other thing is also, this is also because government have decided, and we've heard when the president was making, when Minister of Finance was making his speech, that the cake is getting smaller and smaller, and we need to work better with the money. So there was a call from Cabinet that we must reduce the number of state-owned entities. So we're going to take the 3 and we're going to incorporate them into a single entity. So that will then also adhere to that call from Parliament that we must reduce the number of entities. So the purpose of CETFA will be to ensure that small enterprises and cooperative ecosystem is able to offer the most efficient business advice, business development services, investment support, business facilitation and incubation support to its clients. The vision of CETFA is to be a leading business development entity that will drive economic transformation and inclusive growth in the economy through ensuring the provision of customized financial and non-financial support and greater access to finances for SMMEs. We know that there are many CEDA offices, but there are only a few CIFA offices. So immediately the footprint will immediately increase. But also we're asking for additional funding so that we can broaden the scope of the financial products available. The bill provides for CETFA to be established as a state-owned company in terms of the Companies Act, and the state to be the sole shareholder with the minister as the sole representative of the shareholder. CETFA operations are subject to the PFMA and the Companies Act. The bill set the criteria and the composition of the board and require the board to constitute specific board committees, including an audit and risk committee and a board nomination committee to assist in the public and transparent board appointment processes. We've looked at the current board processes and how the current boards are established. And we've realized that there's a need to make sure that that process is open and transparent. So we've used best practices and we've applied that in the drafting of this bill. The second thing I'm going to talk about then is the establishment of the Ombud Office for Small Enterprises. The problem that the bill aims to remedy is the lack of effective and affordable access to justice for small enterprises. Business-to-business disputes and the late payment of legitimate invoices are significant reality in the life of small enterprises across the world and very real impact on their growth. Section 34 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa guarantees that everyone has the right to have a dispute that can be resolved by the application of law decided in a public hearing before a court, where appropriate, another independent and impartial tribunal or a forum. So that is a constitutional right that currently small enterprises don't have because cost limit them from having the access to that right. The litigation route for resolving disputes places SMS in a significant disadvantage relative to their large counterparts for the following reasons. The financial cost of unresolved disputes is heavy burden on the small enterprise. Even where the amount involved is large, going through a court process is still prohibitive and prevent the SMEs to do that. And the process is cumbersome, it's time consuming, and it's very expensive. So for those reasons, then we've established this Ombud services. The bill provides for the office as a juristic person and sets the criteria for the appointment of the Ombud, who will be accountable to the Minister and to Parliament. So it will not only be accountable to the Minister, it will also be accountable to Parliament. It provides for the functions of the office to be performed by an Ombud, assisted by a Deputy Ombud, and operating in the regional offices where necessary, and the office is subject also to the PFMA. So if we go to the powers and functions of the office, the bill provides for the office to consider and dispose of complaints in a procedurally fair, informal, economically and expeditious manner, and by reference to what is equitable in all circumstances, with due regard to the contractual arrangement or other legal relations between the complainant and the other party. The Ombud service will provide a full suite of services, from complaints handling, alternative dispute resolution, adjudication, contracting, practice modeling function, as to assist small enterprises to draft and sign sound contractual arrangements. Currently, our small enterprises don't have that service that they can go and they can guide them so that the contract that they sign are sound. Determinations by the Ombud must be made in writing, must include the reasons for the determination, and copies of the determination of the complaint must be sent to the clerk or the register of the court that has the jurisdiction in the matter that had been heard by the court. This is important because when we went out for the first consultations, we had a lot of negative comments coming on this Ombud. Because one important thing that this Ombud does not allow for appeals processes. And because of that, people said, but if it doesn't allow for appeals and it's an unfair and unjust decision, how is it going to be dealt with? So that is why we've put in this provision so that there's oversight. So whatever decision is taken by this Ombud, a copy of that decision with the reasons for that decisions must go to the court, where otherwise it would have gone to. So there is that oversight. It also, because the determinations and decisions by the Ombud are binding and they're final. A further protection that is built in is that it allows for judicial review. So, and what the difference between appeal and judicial review, appeal is then the whole decision is reconsidered and there can be a completely new. But with judicial review, they look at the process. Was it a fair process? Was it a legitimate process that was followed? Was it procedurally correct? And was it a rational process that was followed? So it looked at that. So then the decision itself, and remember the decision itself is also considered by the court. So these mechanisms have been built in to make sure that the Ombud doesn't become, because sometimes they say you do things for good intentions, but then those good intentions turns out to be something different and they come to haunt you. So we've built in these provisions to make sure that the Ombud can only do what is intended to do, and that is to help small business to get access to justice, so that it doesn't become another monster that we will have to deal with at another point. So we've built in those provisions to make sure that we can deal with that. I want to talk now about the unfair trading practices. The bill enables the minister, and I also need to explain here, because the moment when we talked about that, the minister can now announced things to be unfair trading practices or prohibited unfair trading practices, there was a big fear that we're now giving the minister too much powers. And the minister can now, because we can have a new minister after the elections. We never know who's the minister of small business going to be. And we can end up with a minister that might maybe abuse the service, this provision. But even through the portfolio committee public hearings process, they've said no. The minister has this right to declare certain practices in relation to small enterprises to be prohibited unfair trading practices. But such practice, but it must be on recommendation by the Ombud. So the Ombud can make such a recommendation based on the cases that it sees all the time, or it can do specific research, and based on that research. So people can also go to the Ombud and say that these things need to be, and then research can be done. So or there's a protection built in. So the minister can't just wake up and decide that certain things must be declared prohibited unfair trading practices. Because remember, we don't want to make big businesses to run away from small businesses as well. We want to encourage them to work with small businesses, to grow small businesses. But we want to make sure that it's a fair environment for small businesses, that small businesses are not abused. So as much as we don't want to scare them away, we want to make sure that it's a fair process. The bill set the parameters and procedures in terms of which the minister, by notice in the Government Gazette, may declare certain practices in relation to small businesses to be prohibited and unfair trading practices. The minister must first publish an intention. She must say, I want to declare this practice to be an unfair prohibited practice. And she must give her reasons, and she must say, for the following reasons. And that must be published in the Government Gazette for public comment. So, but even before she does that, that is just all the hurdles that has been built in to make sure that it's not duplication and that it's not devious or unintended. She must consult with the minister responsible for trade, industry and competition to make sure that it's not already something that's already provided for under the competition law. So that is the first hurdle then. The second one, after she's published this, she must consult with all the ministers. If it's a provision in the mineral and energy area, she must consult with the minister responsible for mineral and energy affairs on that. If it's in agriculture, she must consult with the minister of agriculture. And all the reasons, all the documentation proof of why this is necessary will be made available. So it is an open, transparent process with the intention to create a fair and equitable environment for small enterprises. This is not to become devious and to try and to disrupt normal business processes. Definition for a small enterprise. At the moment, we have the size categories are micro, very small, small, and medium. And how you determine whether you're small, medium, or on what category you fall. We use your turnover, we use the number of people you employ, and there's a criteria set asset value that we use. When it comes to the sizes, we want to do away with the size category very small. We want to incorporate the size category very small into the category small. So it will then only be micro, your very small ones, small and medium. So we're reducing this to 3, making it easier for other sectors to come up with differential treatment for small enterprises, and so that we can create more opportunities for small enterprises. When it comes to the criteria and the thresholds that you can then set the different size categories, we want to do away with the one asset value. We have consulted, and because we must, when we take decisions, it must be evidence-based. So what we use to set the criteria is we use the SARS information in terms of employment and in terms of turnover. But currently, There is no evidence information, not from SARS, not from Statistics South Africa, on asset value. We don't have that information. There's no evidence-based proof for that information. So we can't have something in the law that we can't act on, because we don't have that. Evidence does not exist. So for that reason, we want to do away. So the criteria will then only be turnover and employment in the number of people that's employed. So that is how we want to amend. And then there's also people that at the moment, the abbreviation is SMME, that said, okay, but if you follow the size, it's micro, medium, small, medium. And then they say, but why do you mix it up? There's a lot of complaints that we now find that people say, but SM, small, medium, micro, why? Micro is small, you should start with micro. Then the abbreviation can be MSME. That is not a hard or fast rule, because I also found that there were people now that said to me, no, don't change it, we used to SMME. But I think the more important thing is, let's reduce the categories, the size categories from 4 to 3, and let's reduce, do away with this asset value, which we have no evidence for. The last one, as I explained to you, that is really a technical thing. That is just where we want to provide, need to recraft and rewrite Section 20, subsection 2, to make sure that it's aligned to the Constitution. And there was a recent constitutional court decision also on this, just to align it. And so that is just a technical amendment. So those are the amendments to the Act. The Act was introduced by our minister into the Cabinet in June this year. It then went to the Portfolio Committee on Small Business Development. It went through a public hearing process. We went to all the provinces with the Portfolio Committee from the 6th of October until the 23rd of November. And the Portfolio Committee then made a recommendation to the National Assembly. That was adopted by the National Assembly on the 6th of December, and they've then referred it to the National Council of Provinces for concurrence. So that is why it's currently with the Select Committee to go through the same consultation process to make sure that from a provincial perspective, everybody is also satisfied with the provisions in the Act. I thank you.
Thank you very much for the informative presentation. Ke nahana boholo ba lona le utlwile he se buang hobane a ke re hona le gadgets tse le thusang with translation for those that do not understand English. But ke worried hoba ke bona this side, many people ba neng ba dutse this side ba ile ka ntle. Ke a ipotsa why ha bana interest na ya this bill e important hakana. I don't understand why ba ile ka ntle. Ke kopa hore ke qale ka mona matsoho a batho ba batlang ho bua. Number 1, 2, 3, 4. E mong hape hona this side. Kamo, is there anyone? 5. Ke kopa le tle mona he le tlo bua, o tla ya jwalo ka o latelang.
Thank you so much to have you again here in Koffiefontein. Yeah, ma'am, we have got a challenge here in Koffiefontein as small contractors. What is our first challenges is when we are getting jobs, the first problem that we are going to get is your certificate of, because you have to go to manpower in Petersburg, and then when you arrive in Petersburg, the first thing that they are going to ask you is your certificate. And then we struggle with these certificates, especially the your CID. Your CID is one of them. And what is the other? Yeah, and the CSD, all those certificates, but you have to pay a lot of money. But I'm so happy because I see Comrade Mashinini, it's here. When you are going to pay, they will ask you 1.4. I think a week from now, we are going to open the road of Jacobsdal. We don't have the right certificate because they promise us they will come here and come to help those who don't have funds to make those things. We are still waiting for them. And please, I don't know, can the government assist us with that because it has been a long time we are sitting without jobs. We are contractors as well, but we don't have the right person to come and assist us because they have promised us they will come, but they didn't come. And it's a week that we have to go there and produce our certificates. But the main certificate that we want manpower to help us, it is, what is this certificate? Quida, that is one of the certificates, that is what we want, Quida. Thank you very much.
Ka leboha haholo.
Goeiedag sê allemaal, leiers. Ek hoor die mense wat hier sit is van die parlement. Ons bly in 'n klein dorpie agter Oppermans gronde. Vir die afgelope, dit gaan maar nie lekker nie, Chairperson Mashinini. Ons het 'n groot probleem in Oppermans, ons het nie werkie. Die dorp was 'n plaas en is nou 'n dorp. Hulle sê Oppermans dorp. Daar's nie 'n petrol garage, ons het nie regte fasiliteite vir ons kinders nie. Behuising was 30 jaar gelede. Ons as small entrepreneurs, soos u hulle gesê het, ons sukkel nou al. Ek kan onthou ek beklei al van 'n jong man af, ek raak al grys. Ons wag vir funding. Ek is 'n meubelmaker en 'n kabinetmaker. Ek sien in die marketing industrie, furniture manufacturers, ons het moslims in ons land wat kaste maak wat jy nou net voorbetaal het hy om by die huis indra, dan val hy uit mekaar uit. Ons word gerob elke dag, selfs met ons hande. Ek as 'n ambagsman wat nou vir iemand moet gaan werk, wil hulle R100 'n dag voorbetaal met die ervaring wat ek het. En ek sien in ons dorp, ons het 'n groot klomp jong mense, soos die groot leier gesê het die voor. Ek sê maar leiers vir almal, van ons is almal leiers. As ek so kyk in die dorp, dan sien ek die jong mense se lewe wat so agteruit gaan. Want daar's niks wat hulle se brein kan op fokus nie. Hulle se hande te gebruik om 'n paar sent te maak. Crime is vandag so hoog. Jy gaan vandag in, jy is môre weer uit, soos maar 'n gewoonte. Die tronk is lekker. Verstaan, ander masjien. Ons bid, ons vra die Here vandag deurdat julle hier is. Wil ons net ons mense gevoel. Ek weet, een ou leier, Martin Luther King het once gesê, hy veg vir 'n droom wat hy sien in 'n belofte land. Ons bid vandag by julle. Ons vra asseblief, kyk na ons aan Oppermans, dit gaan nie lekker nie. Ons sit met idees, ons kan nie voor almal praat, ek het nie die geld nie. As ek nou die idee hier kan gee, die persoon met die geld gaan my voorspring. Môre is dit te vergeefs. So ek vra julle asseblief vandag. Ek wil nie my naam en my van noem nie. Ek is 'n Oppermanner. Ek is van Oppermansdorp. Ek is in die bloedlyn van die Oppermanners. Daar sit ons almal as 'n groot familie. Daar's baie jong dames met drome wat hulle graag ook wil in die dorp in ander jong mense mee help. Ons het nie so baie geantwoord want ons het nie so lekker verstaan nie. Ons het nie 'n probleem met die taal nie. Ek verstaan Sotho, ek weet my ander familielede verstaan nie Sotho so lekker nie. Hulle het vir my gesê, Charles, nou staan jy nie op, toe sê ek, nee, wag, sit. Laat ons maar laaste praat. Ek vra nie net vir Oppermans, ek vra vir Koffiefontein ook. Jacobsdal, Jagersfontein, hier af, waar hulle sê is die plaasplekke. Dis nie lekker nie. Ek stap partykeer met my voet uit Oppermans uit, ek gaan nie vir julle lieg, ons betaal R100 transport uit Oppermans Koffiefontein toe. Ons het pensionarisse wat daar bly, wat ons ook, hulle se kinders ook nog help en bystaan. Ons weet nie as hulle nie eendag daar wees, as hulle se pensioen ook nog weg is, hulle help ons baie met die pensioen wat hulle kry. Ons vra, ons het hulp nodig. Die jong mense wat hier sit van Koffiefontein is jong mense wat ek elke dag deur die stad kry. Hulle soek werk. Soos ek sê, ek wil nie my plan en my droom vir almal deel nie. Ek is te bang dit gaan gesteel word. Ek vra vir die Here om dit so te behoed en bewaar. Ek sê dankie vir julle wat geluister het, maar ek bid by julle vandag. Asseblief praat met die parlement daarbo, sê hulle moenie vir Oppermans en Koffiefontein vergeet nie. Die was een van die grootste diamantstadte. Laat dit nou so lyk. Wat gaan aan? Kyk hoe lyk ons paie. Oppermans wil ek nie praat nie. Dis hoekom julle seker hier afgery het. Die pad het ons kla nie oor die regering. Ek gaan nie sê ek kla. Hulle doen wat hulle moet doen. Maar lyk my hulle vergeet sekere dinge. Werkskepping is baie belangrik vir 'n land, vir die gemeenskappe om te werk. Vandag gaan ons nie so baie crime hê nie. Baie dankie.
Goeiemôre gemeenskap.
Thank you, Kalebo.
Ja. Ek is Eindkaji van Oppermans Gronde. My vraag is die, kyk ons het op gepraat van al die provisions wat gemaak word. Wat se provisions word daar gemaak teen SIDA en SIFA? Want as baie besigheidsplanne, as baie keer wat hulle kom na ons toe en vra vir ons om besigheidsplanne in te vul, om dit te doen, dit te doen en companies te registreer. Daar's tot in die meierse kantore uit wat daar projekte kom wat eintlik net daar eindig. Ek het hulle 'n manier wat ek sê, as hulle alweer hier moet 'n roadshow. Want vir my lyk dit als wat roadshows. Laas keer was hier daar gewees, toe moes hulle companies kom registreer vir mechanical en hy goede, vir hairdressing, vir catering. Ek meen vir 'n gemeenskap wat nie werk het nie. Hoeveel keer gaan jy bly 'n company registreer en hy company verval in jou lei in? Van niks kom verder van hy company as uit jou lei uit nie. Daar is geen bystand vir besighede nie. Ek meen kyk hoe lyk Koffiefontein. Ons mark is monopoliseer deur die foreigners. Wys my een South African owned shop of tuck shop in die lokasies in. As ons meer support kan kry van SIDA en SIFA af, sal ons meer mense hê wat werk en wat in die lande wat in ons communities 'n verskil kan maak. Ek meen, want toe gaan ons mense, al wat hulle kan doen is dwelms verkoop. Wat nou mense dit nou weer? Tevens by die huis het. Van dis al wat hulle kan doen. Al die ander goed word ons uitgestoot. Dis hoekom ek sê ons is gemonopoliseer deur foreigners. Omdat ons nie support kry van SIDA SIFA af nie. Al wat ek vra is dat hulle met 'n provision maak om hy mense te begin accountable hou vir promises wat hulle kom maak in ons gemeenskappe. Ek gaan nou al vir my 6de company wat ek registreer, wat niks van word nie, raak weer oud in my lei in. Kom dit na construction toe, kom dit na kontrakte toe. Daar's 'n monopolie op dit ook. Wie die meeste geld het kry die project. Dan kom ons na die registrasies toe. Soos om nou gepraat het en soos ek dink die groot man gaan ook dieselfde ding praat. Jy gaan allei daai prosesse deur, jy betaal allei klomp geld om jou compliant te maak vir enige project. Dan kry jy ook kom met welkom met 'n van die project onder ons mense se eerste uit hierso. So ek wil hê hulle moet graag provisions maak in die bill in om ook dit te verhoed op munisipale levels. Om seker te maak dat ons nie weer opgestel word om te fail nie, maar om te succeed. Dankie.
Thank you, Kalebo.
Afternoon, everybody. My name is Hendrika Tebe from Jacobsdal. I also wanted to raise one of the previous points that he mentioned about people struggling with certificates. You find that small business owners, we now from this neighborhood, we would like to also like have a hand in the project, but we don't get the opportunity because you have to run from pillar to post to end up getting your certificate. In the end, it looks like people are here, like we're not interested. We struggle once you've got it complied, your business is complied, then it's either this, it's either that. So it's like almost like we've been set back for failure. The other thing that I liked about that they've mentioned that the part of assets being excluded now, for me seems as an advantage, but I want to know, is that really going to come into working? The other thing I saw, that we are excluding the part of assets, your turnover from, yes. Then the other thing I wanted to ask was on the side of developmental support. I see there's two sections, there's the financial and the non-financial part. What does the non-financial part consist of? Does it consist of people being trained for skills upliftment, where some of us are perhaps misinformed, you must fine print in your contract? Is it going to include all of those? Marketing of a business, I wanted to ask that. Thank you.
Baie dankie, Mekukamur. My naam is Mzwandile Mtsila van Koffiefontein, Ward 5. Ntate Neo dink ek het daar iets genoem van Khoida. Miskien moet ek sê, ek dink Mekukamur in die bill, you already identified some loopholes. And it is for that reason I think that that is voor mij clear dat het lijkt voor mij, je hebt already deur die bill gegaan. En je weet van wat is in die bill. Van die andere goeders je het clear gemaakt dat je gaan zeggen, er wordt niet gezoekt niet, je zoekt dat niet, of althans zoekt die mensen dat niet. But what I'm trying to say is, als we praten van red tapes, kom ik een klein example maken. Gisteren in Koffiefontein was daar een advert van jullie school van wat we gaan doen worden also. Nou, mijn challenge met die advert was die woord Khoida. If a grade 6 company het een werk gekregen, it then means hij heeft alles gesubmit wat recht was. And one of those documents will be Khoida. Now, confage a subcontractor, and you expect the very same subcontractor om Khoida te gaan maken, which is letter of good standing. Now, die mensen hebben nooit gewerkt nie. Als een nieuwe company, hij moet gaan registeren bij Department of Labor. Als hij daar zou komen, one of the requirements will then be hoeveel mensen werken onder jou. En je hebt niet mensen wat onder jou werken. Je begint. Now you must submit a letter of good standing for that specific project. It's a red tape. It's a red tape for whoever wants to tender for that specific project. So dat die red tapes heb ik uitgehaald wordt voor de small businesses or the macro businesses or whatever they are. Dat die red tapes heb ik verminderd wordt. Ons sukkel baie as a result of red tapes. Wat opgezet wordt for small business. Hence, that's a challenge van, even if you have to get paid, you have to wait for a certain period of time. During that time as je moet werken, because this thing, you're forced to go out om geld te gaan zoeken. Once that geld komt in, it must go back to wherever je hem geleend hebt. You start afresh with nothing. It's a red tape but us and also municipalities, even in government. I think for me that the sal always make kukumu by ranking.
Kaya thanking tate ga leboha le gona ka diphehiso tseo tsa lona. Ke before ke fa mme hore a arabe ke batla ho bona ho sana le batho ba batlang ho bua na. Is there anyone that still wants to talk? Or are you fine? Okay. I don't see, yeah, Tlo ntate. Kapa ke mme a batlang ho bua. Ha a tla bue he. Ke ana fela. All right.
Dumelang baeteledipele ba rona, dumelang setjhaba sa rona. Ke rata gore le nna ke leboga sebaka sena gore ke kry-ele nakonyana ena. Lebitso la ka ke Thandi Ngalo, ke tlhaga Lukhof. Lukhof ke toroponyana e nyenyane fela. Ke rata gore le rona ra sokola Lukhof. Re sokola ka nako tse dingwe ha re tshwanetse re ye go dira CSD. Tlamile re hae ke go tswa kwa re ye Bloemfontein. Ha re kena Bloemfontein re itlhelele gore ha re kena treasury ga gona network ga e bereke. Tshwanetse re boele morago fela ni. Gape re ye ka tsatsi le lengwe ni. Ha re phone nako tse dingwe le phone ga e tsholetse gore dilo di siame kwa. So re tshwaraganya le mathata a gore rona batho ba di small business ra sokola ga re na tšhelete e kenang gore e dule mo di accountong tsa rona. Ha o re o boela bankeng wa go sheba account ya gago e kwetswe gobane ga gona tšhelete e kenang. Bikinyane wa ya tšhelete gongwe e fumanang ga e dule ni cause ga re fumane mesebetsi ni. And le mesebetsi ena re reng ra e fumana ditseleng o itlhela ile gore owner ya tsela e go fa motlhomongwe net 4 months o go bereka 4 months wa 4 months wa ga ona tšhelete e kenang kara account gore e dule mo gore ka tsatsi le lengwe o tla re ha o re wa go lokisa a CSD ya gago gore o upgrade ga o kgone go upgrade bana ga gona tšhelete e keneng kara company ni. Ke a leboga.
Thank you very much. Ke a leboga haholo ka diphehiso tsa lona le buile ditaba tsa bohlokwa. Kaofela batho bana ba tlileng mona ba buile ditaba tsa bohlokwa. O ka e bua he mme?
Gape se ke lelang ka sone o fitlhe ke utlwile mme a bua ka gore re go na le a license e tshwanetse gore re dire go fumana as businesses. So bothata bo re na le bone gape re na le bothata ba gore batho ba fumana di license go go rona kwa mara ga gona di license tse di botlhokwa tse di fumanegang. Di license tse botlhokwa tse di fumanegang ke go owner di tavern. And maphelo a bana ba rona mo di taverneng ba gaetsho a fela ni gobane ga gona sepe gape se sengwe se ba se dirang. Di library di kwala ka di 4 o'clock and ga gona sepe gape se sengwe ni bana ba rona ba editseng ka dikolo ba dutse mo magaeng nako tse dingwe ga ba kgone le go apply ka ntle ga ba kry na go apply ka nako ni bana ha ba tsena ko wa go lata and batho ba ba berekang le bone mo wa le bone gore ba ba thuse ba tla be ba ba bolelela gore le rona gane gore re sebetsa ka di computer and le rona re kgathetse ni. Thank you.
Ke le buile haholo. Ke nana kaofela batho ba tlileng mo ba buile ditaba tsa bohlokwa haholo. Bonyane ho bile ena ke kgotsofetse ho latela ditaba tse le di buileng tse le butsitseng ka tsona. Re tlo araba kapa le rona re phehise mo ke tla fa ntate mashinini pele ke fa mme hore a di akaretse kaofela.
No, really nna ke lebohe. I feel very much encouraged. Ki ikutlwa ke le motlotlo ka diphehiso tsena tse le di entseng. And some of them are very touchy. Ha o utlwa tse ding ha ba di bolela mona, they are very touchy. Removal of the red tapes. I don't want the name to be written removal of the red tape. What is the red tape that you want to be removed? Say it here in the bill. Say it here. Sky akaretsa or na ke small contractor ke na red tape. I tlo entate. Wa nkutlwa morena. Ya ke batla haebe o tla kopa o modula stulo o itoboketse ge se ke gage o itse re tlose di red tape. I tla me ke a tseba tse ding di entse. I'm sure you have got that point. Here we are talking about the bill. We don't want to be generalistic. What red tape, and you spoke about that. What red tapes do they think it's critical that it must be removed? The red tape that you think it's critical that it must be removed, remove it. And she has said the intention is to remove the red tape. Nah. Ha ke batlo nka ka hore ke a utlwisisa. Ke even red tape eo. Toboketse la o ka beha tse pedi tse tharo fela re tla be re tseba hantle hore na o bua ka eng. One, modula stulo, I'm encouraged. Where is that young lady? Where is it? Okay. I'm encouraged with that. When you see the young people speaking and say, these are the areas that are stopping our progress. It's a nice thing to do, and I'm sure that we have had it. We can use the SMMEs to create jobs. And I think, like you are saying, that if we can use it properly, there can be a huge impact on it. So, from where I'm sitting, I want to encourage more young people. I know Oppersman Grond Memon saying, I know Waitzibalwen very well. And Kofi Fontaine, I know it very well. I'm encouraged to see young people from Oppersman Grond standing up and talking. Because the future is in your hands. If you don't speak, nobody's going to speak to you, for you. You stand up and talk what is pertinent in your area of stay. And I think the point that you have made, don't forget us in Oppersman's Grond. I know it, when I close my eyes, I know where Opperman Grond is. Yeah. Ngwana sa le ngoshela kae? Ngwana sa le ngoshela kae? Unfortunately, I can't tell you ka sekgowa or na ke. Wena o kana wa etoloka ngwana sa le ngoshela kae? Whatever that you can say. But critical issues that you have made an appeal, look for Oppersman Grond that you are doing. I think you have made that point. Very critical. The issue of SIFA. Before you leave here, you must go deep into that. SIFA stand for what? And I want you to go very slow for the people to understand the incorporation. Seeking to make one-stop shop in that area. Please emphasize on that one. Because there are people here that have said, I don't know. Hakere kilo batla assistance here funding, I'm taken from pillar to post. Now, there is SIFA here. Please explain that part. In terms of the act, what it seeks to do. So that when I leave here and say, yes, the bill is okay, it must go, I know that I have addressed my concerns. Okay? That's what you should do. So explain the issue of SIFA and the issue of putting together. And then the other point, offices of that combination must be closer to the people at the level of the municipality. That thing must be at the level
And if it is not included in the bill, the people here are saying it must come closer to the municipality. And that's what we should strive for as the people of this area. Because that's what we want to see happening. We have been, maybe that's another red tape. Ebe we khole ko. How tlamehile o ye teng mono, tlamehile o nahane pele hore na, how much do you have at the back? And you are not going to be able to, you end up being discouraged and you don't go. Maiziswa apa phansi kuthi ayitliswe mo ho rona mo. Litsho jwalo akere? Yeah, I want you to cover that one. And of course, if there are any other red tapes, memon saying o tla hlalosa hore na o tla fuwa sebaka se sky, ha ke tsebe bola qala wa hla wa hlalosa o tloa ya submission. O tla hlalosa yeno so that when you go back, look at the bill. O bo re mara meolo ha ke a mutlwa kapa ntate mashinini kapa memon saying ha ke a mutlwa a bua ka party ena. Ke batla party eo e kenyeletse o dutse hae o ngola fatshe. Ra utlwana rona kere. Thank you. Over to you.
Yeah. Baie dankie. And I'm going to talk, firstly, I think I want to explain. I want to explain and then I'm going to try and respond to your questions. When we talk about small enterprise financing agency, that's a financing agency that provides access to finance for small enterprises. And we want to broaden that and we want to broaden the products that's available through that. So currently we do have SEFA, we refer to it because it's small enterprise finance, we talk about SEFA. We have offices in all the provinces, but not that many, but to do that work. So they should help you to build your capacity and whatever area you need that capacity to be built to a level that you can get whatever certificate you need to be able to get. And then there's also the cooperatives bank development agencies that also provide, and they have even less offices. So number one, with the combination of the three into a single entity, the footprint is immediately going to improve. We have furthermore, our minister has published what we call the National Integrated Strategy for Small Enterprise Development, NIST, early in this year, in February last year. We're now in a new year. It's now for a year that NIST has been implemented. And what NIST is saying is, government, you should stop working in silos. You should, government, work closer together. We should work closer with the provinces, and the provinces need to work closer with the municipalities. So where we can't offer the services that we need to offer in small towns like Koffiefontein or in Oppermansgronde, then the municipality should be capacitated to be able to provide those services. And we have gone out and we have spoken to all the provinces, me and my team, and we've said to the provinces, what can we do? And we're rolling that out. It's a continuous process. We also know that in South Africa, we don't have enough money as a government to do everything that needs to happen. We need to go into partnerships. Sir, you were talking a lot about getting access to opportunities and how to get that access to opportunities through partnerships, and where we have enterprise supplier programs that we run also through SEDA, through the Small Enterprise Development Agency, where we looked at how do we get our small enterprises to form part of the larger value chains? How do we bring them into those value chains? So we have online sessions, and we should be able to access these online sessions that we offer at your municipality, because they have the internet. If you don't have internet in your areas at the moment, go to them. They should be able to provide you with those access. But we as government have failed SMMEs as well, because we were working in silos. We need to break those silos, and we need to work closer together. And we are doing that. We are actively putting the systems in place to make sure that we work better together, and that we stop this blame game of saying, no, but the province should have done that. Oh, no, that's local. I'm national. We're one government. And we need to work together as one government to make sure that our SMMEs receive the services that they receive. The big thing then is you need to understand that SIFA, a small enterprise financing agency, is providing access to finance for small enterprises. We're going into partnerships with big businesses to make sure that we have access to more finances. But in those processes, we also bring the business partners on board so that we can link you into those business processes and you can get the qualifications and the know-how about how to run that business. To try to start up on your own and to get to a big business does not happen for everybody. It's sometimes better to learn from others and to learn through the processes. This is what international best practice is telling us. And that is what we're trying to do, is to link small businesses so that you can't just forever sit and hope for a contract to fill potholes, but that you become part of the bigger construction companies, providing specific services to those companies, and that those skills that you are provided for comply with the requirements of that company. So creating that opportunities. But it requires a lot of rethinking also and refocusing and more work from us as government. We must pull our hands out of our pockets and make sure that we do what we say and that we will start working better together. I want to go back to the questions and about the small contractors and the certificates that you're not getting. Those certificates, that at the end of the day becomes a red tape. Because you can't get the certificate. But why don't you get the certificate? And those are the things that we need. Those, unfortunately, are not things that are addressed in our legislation. But we will work with our Small Enterprise Development Agency so that they can see what they can do. I'm taking all these questions back to my department, and we're going to make sure that SEDA can give feedback to us in terms of what are they doing to make sure that small enterprises get supported to get the certificates that they need to be able to get. And that is also, it's unacceptable that you must go to Bloemfontein to get a CSD certificate. Why can't Bloemfontein, Provincial of Treasury, they must work with local municipalities. That's the obligation that we as national and provincial must accept. We can't leave municipalities to be on their own. We must take responsibility for municipalities. Because municipalities don't have the capacity, but we must work with them to make sure that they be able to do that. Why should a small entrepreneur leave her business alone and go to Bloemfontein? And then, because you phone and nobody answers the phone. Why should it? It can't be. It's unacceptable and it needs to improve. And we as government must make a change to make sure that you get the services that you need. And the story about work, the need for jobs, we're trying to amend and to offer better services through these amendments, to be able to create a better environment, to create opportunities. We will definitely work and also focus on that. Then the other question was also about, okay. And I think that is an issue of empty promises that's being made and companies that are registered and then nothing comes of that. I think that is very unfair and it's unfortunate if that happens. Because I know at our department, at the point we went out and there were people in our department that would just register cooperatives because they were told, you must register 100 cooperatives. But there was no meaning in that. And our minister said, stop it. If I find a person that establishes a cooperative that has no meaning, you're going to be in trouble, official. And it's sometimes, that because it's wrong, you create false hope, and that can't be. We can't, as government, do that. We need to make sure that if we register a cooperative, if we assist you to register, if we assist you to register a business, we must make sure that you then have the access to the finance that's going to be required to make that a reality. We must make sure that you have the skills, and we must make sure that you get the training for that. We can't just register you and give you a certificate and then we think it's unethical. It should not happen. But there's a different process, and I think those officials that make themselves guilty of that should be reported and be dealt with. It's unacceptable. It can't be. And it should be bring to the fore. So sorry, I'm getting very upset when I hear that you go to people in rural areas and you give them false hope. We can't allow that. Those officials must be they're unethical. That's all I can say. You can't give false hope to people that are desperate and unemployed. That is it's unacceptable. So in terms of the certificates and the access to certificates, this is a red tape. If you can't get access to it, why is it that you can't get access? We need to look at that. So we have programs that we're rolling out. It's currently in KZN, but we have a lot of vacancies in my unit. I'm sitting with 70 vacancies, so we also have the vacancy problem. But we need to roll out those programs to all provinces. Because it was also about the business licensing. Now, there's another legislation that is coming that we will amend through our department next year, which is business licensing, where we specifically talk about the issue about business licensing. So it's not addressed in this legislation, but it's something that we do give attention to. It's the issue around business licensings and the problems that you have with that. But you will know that the president has, I think 2 years ago, announced a red tape office, and that red tape office is in the office of the presidency. And our former DG is currently in that office. He's running that office. And we are also, within the next week or two, we will publish the constitution for the Small Enterprise Advisory Body. And one of the functions of that advisory body, what we want to put up is that because we have the processes of red tape everywhere, how do you pick up red tape and how do you deal with it? Because sometimes, often, red tape is in this very legislation that we present to you here. Because that legislation says that if you want to apply, this is the process, and sometimes those processes become prohibitive, and you can't get around those processes. So what they have, and what is working best practices internationally, is that apart from the normal processes, you also have that every year, small businesses will say, what is the biggest red tape for you? And then all those red tapes goes, and they go, at the end of the day, you take a top 10, and you go to the president, and you say to the president, these are the 10 top red tapes. And if it is something under that's a certificate that you need to get from Treasury, the president then say to Treasury, explain why this is a red tape or amend. Then you get a different approach that deals directly. So where small enterprises' voice are heard, and you now say, these are the things, and then those ministers must then account. Why is it a red tape? Is it necessary in the first place? If it's not necessary, why? If it's necessary, then make it easy, make it workable. And that is a process that we want to follow. So we are slowly but surely, the wheels are starting to turn. So we are going to establish a Small Enterprise Advisory Body again. We're going to bring it on board. I think the last time it ended was in 2014. So it's for 10 years now that we were out of our advisory body. We're bringing that back. But through these processes, I hope that we will be able to address all your concerns and all your fears and all the things that's holding you back from growing your businesses and be profitable and making a difference. Thank you.
Ga leboha haholo. Se re tlo qeta, se re tlo kwala jwale, se re le beile nako e telele. Ke kopa hore ntate a tswang di-steer a teng mona, ntate Jonas Mosi, o tlo bua la e le ntho e nyane fela, just hore o sharp covered. Okay. Ga leboha, ke nahana information e le e thotseng ka moo e tla kgona ho thusa. Mme re na le tshepo hape le sebedise le di-masepala tsa lona ka dikomiti tsa LED di tlamehile di le thuse ho fihlella di-certificate tsena tsa treasury. Ke mosebetsi wa bona, tlebe ba sa letsetse favor. Ba tshwanetse ba le thusa le fihlelle di-certificate tseo tsa lona tse treasury jwalo ka mme a tjho di mekgahlelo ya government, national, province, local government, di tshwanetse di sebetse mmoho ho sebeletsa setjhaba. Pele ke ka kwala ke batla ho bona batho ba reng molao ha o tekenelwa ga o batla o se kene tshebetsong. Batho ba tjhong jwalo ke kopa matsoho a batho ba reng molao ona wa di small business ha o kene tshebetsong hobane rona re batla ho lwantsha bofuma le tlhokeho ya mosebetsi. Ke kopa ho bona matsoho a supportang the bill. A ke bone matsoho a reng rona re support molao ona o ska ba wa feta ho hang. Ba reng ha ba o support. Ke a leboha. Ke nahana hore taba tsa rona di fella mona. A ke tsebe hore bomme bana ba ke sebetsang le bona ba ile kae. Bane ba tshwantse ba bue ka taba ya lunch hore ho etsahala jwang. A ke batle hore ke itlame. Ha le etswa mona ha se le ya hae. Dintho tsena tse neng re di kadingwe hore di fetolele mantswe, di fetolele language hore re tsebe ho utlwisisa. Le tshwantse le di siye hobane re santsane re tla sebetsa ka tsona pele le ha ntse re etsa melao e meng. Hobane ha o ka wa e nka wa re maybe we kenya pokothong re sa o search wa tswa ka ena ha e tlo o thusa because ha e no translator language elsewhere e translator mona legislature fela. Okay, batho ba tlotla ba ngola ba etsang ba tlotla ba kenya di submission tsa bona tse ngotsweng ke ena email address ke a ipheta ba ntse ba le teng bana le yona ke kgathatso.nkiani77@gmail.com. Kgathatso e ngolwa tjena KGATHATSO.nkiani ke NKEANE77@gmail.com. Then email address ya bobedi ke ene reng zintle@fsl.gov.za. Zintle ke ZINHLEM for mother @fsl.gov.za. Re tla lebella hore diphehiso tseo tse ngotsweng di kengwe pele di romelwe di kwallwa ka di 28 tsa February 2024 ka 4:30. Ke kopa mme a bue ka taba ya dijo.
Thank you. We're just waiting for the lady who's doing catering. So the request from the door is that everyone must just remain inside the hall so that they can be able to give out the food when it arrives. So we were just requesting that no one must leave because of now it's going to cause a bit of a mess when it comes to the arrangements of giving food. Thank you.
Batho ba fatang ka dijo ba ya tla ha ba so fihle re sa ba emetse le dule ka mo le emele hore motho wa fihle a tla tsebe hore ba le cater hantle le dutse fatshe because ha le ka tswala ka ntle e tlo etsa moferefere be re sa bone hore re fepa bo mang ho etsahala jwang.